Hey, hey, my friends. I am so excited. I'm always excited with my podcast guests. They're very, very special to me. I have such a great friend of mine. Her name is Jennifer. Jennifer, would you please introduce your beautiful self to my audience?
Sure, I'm so happy to be here. I'm Jennifer Ternay. I am a speaker and a coach, former CFO. I still maintain my CPA license, so we still have that little
Hmm.
bond in common. And I am a person that truly believes people have untapped potential and that we can all do so much more than we think we can.
I love that, Jennifer. It leads us into our path. I will tell all of you that we had a special conversation today in the green room and previously. And the reason why I felt that Jennifer would be a great fit is she has a clothing story and it meant so much to her that I want her to share it. So, Jennifer, let's tell everybody who's listening what that story is and what it did to change your life.
Sure, it happened actually early back in my career. I started in public accounting at one of the big firms. I will leave names out for posterity purposes. And I had the in charge who was over most of the audits, somebody that I worked with frequently. And we had butted heads over things like audit procedures because I was the person that was always questioning what if there was a way of doing it quicker, faster, and I could still get to the same end results. So there was a little bit of tension there. But the thing that really kind of pushed me over the edge was I remember him pulling me aside at one point and saying he understood what it was like to grow up in a family that was pink collar. And one, I'd
Hmm.
never even heard of what pink collar was at the time, but it was
Pink,
essentially
the color,
neither
pink.
pink collar.
Oh,
So it wasn't
collar.
a white collar family and it wasn't a blue collar family. Apparently, pink was in the middle.
Hmm.
And he told me that his secret to success was that he modeled himself off of the GQ magazine and that maybe I should pay attention to my appearance a little bit. And I was at the point where I just was so fed up with so many things and decided to really rebel against the conservative image of the auditors. And I went out and bought this hot pink suit, which was my power suit. I loved it. And I even had my hair spiral permed. It was the early 90s. And I joke of growing up in Jersey, Bon Jovi was the thing you wanted to be and the big hair bands. So I went out and did the big hair and showed up in a pink suit. So I had an audit client who even commented about afterwards when I ran into her after I had gotten a little bit more conservative of one of the things that she really remembered about me was the fact that I did not fit the conservative model. And that
Wow.
was just so much fun.
It is a lot of fun. So let's share with the audience for those who don't know anyone in the public accounting world, what it was for us, because we were there in public accounting around the same time, which is why we're kindred spirits here. And you're right. We had only a few choices: navy blue, gray, black, skirt suits. Pantsuits were not permitted. If right, do you remember that? She's shaking, right?
Oh,
They were not really
yeah.
permitted until much later in the 90s. And that's when
I
they
can
came out,
even I was going to say,
right?
I even remember interviewing, and one of the things for one of the firms was their dress code was you could not wear anything that were not dress shoes into the office. So if you were working in the city, and at the time I was in Baltimore, so you could end up walking blocks away, and heels definitely aren't that comfortable. I've never met a flat I like. And so at the time, it was, sneakers and socks. It was not uncommon to see women walking along the street in some kind of tennis shoe with their skirt on and then change into heels when you got into the office. And
Right.
that I was told was not permissible. And I
Wow.
just was really shocked. But yes, it was definitely no pants. Blue, gray, and black were the uniform, unofficial uniform.
That's right. That's right. So tell me a little bit more now where that story, where that conversation with, I'll call him Mr. GQ, took you, right? It helped you move on to your next path and find yourself. Tell us a little bit more about that because I find that story so intriguing.
Yeah, so the story is actually a part of a speech that I give that is really about how taking little changes and little steps is a way of overcoming fear and doubt and being true to yourself. And I think it really came about from my looking back at my earlier life. I had gotten to a point where I felt lost. I'm a
Mm.
single mom, two kids, had been struggling with kind of where I was and who I was, and so trapped down by responsibility and feeling as though my life wasn't my own to own, that I
Mm.
was really stuck in a spot where I had to do certain things because of expectations and requirements and responsibility as a mom and as a person that needed to maintain a household. And I have really come about, and the speech really brought out a lot of different moving parts within me. And it created a framework that I use within my coaching practice is 5 questions. And one of the questions is, what does younger me want to tell me?
I
And it's
love that.
because when I would look back, I saw this woman who didn't care, was willing to stand up and be different. And I felt over a period of time, I had lost that core strength. And so that was a whole conversation that I actually had that I did not tell you, that involved a puppet, where I was
Wow.
talking to a puppet, and this whole one-sided conversation of like, where did you go and what happened? And why have you lost that confidence and belief in yourself? And so it's really been an evolution of coming back to owning that and wanting to be your whole self and embracing it. And clothes actually have a lot to do with that. It has to do with
I
how you
love
show up
that.
and how you feel. So
Right? Oh, so well said. We did not rehearse that sentence at all. Jennifer was just so kind in sharing that, but it is important. I love how the work that you've done internally, like you said, finding your younger self and true self. For those of you who have Zoomed with me or know me, I actually keep a picture of my younger self here on my desk, my 7-year-old self, for that exact reason. For that exact reason. So somehow along the career path, and I think it happens to a lot of us, correct me if I'm wrong, because that's what your coaching is about, is to bring us back to our true selves, right? You know, it happens to a lot of us. We get lost in the muck of, following the path, and sometimes that path isn't always the right path. So the
yeah.
work you've done is transformational, truly.
Yeah, so many people, and I know from myself, even just sitting in this spot of, I was so caught up in just juggling everything that was on my plate that
Mm.
I didn't even realize how burnt out I was, unhappy, and really wasn't being the person that I wanted to be for my kids, for myself. And it really needed to be a moment to stop and reflect. And it was a journey that happened over a couple of years. But since then, that's really the power and the beauty that I love about coaching and what I do, is allowing people to tap into that for themselves, because there's so much about how we present, and our confidence is tied up into whether or not we're identifying with ourselves as a person, or if we're being run almost by these stories that we tell ourselves. There's so many stories that we tell ourselves about what other people are thinking, what other people expect, what we expect of ourselves. And sometimes those expectations that we're putting onto ourselves are being driven in a way that we don't even realize. And
Right.
it's really gaining the awareness of what it is that motivates you, what it is that drives how you show up and present in the world, that either can be a way of building your confidence or breaking down your confidence.
So well said. So obviously you had a tipping point in your life for you to become aware. Is there something we can share with our listeners here, with everyone who's listening? What's one thing they could perhaps pay attention to? Is it their happiness quotient, right? Is it whether they're happy or not, or is there something else that they should look for to perhaps start making these changes that'll make them be their best
I
selves.
think the biggest thing that I would say is for when you're taking almost pride in being busy,
Mm,
because busy ends up being a badge of honor, I think, at times for many people. And it often is a sign of people that are moving ahead and not actually taking control or being in charge of their life, because busy almost implies that it is something outside of yourself that you're being driven by. And that is the biggest awareness that I've pulled into my life, is about being intentional and knowing how I want to spend my time, my energy. And when it is something that you enjoy and are intentional about, it's no longer busy, it's about living. Busy isn't living.
yes. So well said. I love that, being intentional. Wow, that's so serious stuff, but it's all about being happy and joyful, right? So we're going to flip the coin and say, so we started this conversation talking about clothes, and I know you've listened to a couple of episodes, so you probably know the next question I'm going to ask, and it can be the pink suit can be your answer. But is there one outfit that has helped you step into your confidence and power of all time? What is it, and how did it make you feel?
I don't know that there is one outfit, although the hot pink suit probably would rank up there pretty well.
Mhm.
My confidence go to is actually my shoes. And it doesn't
Good
matter
answer.
what pair of shoes it is, but usually my shoes reflect sort of how I'm feeling and thinking of. I have a true love affair with high heels. I do not own any flats unless flip flops count. And during COVID, I've increased significantly the number of sneakers that I have, so much
Mhm.
so that my children are now calling me a sneakerhead. So, but they are fun and playful.
Right, right. Well, it's important because it is a feeling, and I am all for creating an outfit from the bottom up. I've done it before. I've worked an outfit around, okay, I want to wear these shoes. I'll give you a perfect example. When it's pouring rain out, right? And I would have to go out and visit a client, for example, I would say, okay, those are my waterproof shoes. I need to build my outfit from the bottom up. Like that would be when I would pay attention to the feet and then work up from there. So, but of course, I love that. My intro, as you know, is my love for coffee exceeds my love for high heels, only because I do love coffee. There are two different things, but high heels, they would have to be platform because it would have to be from a comfort perspective. So, yes, we've come a
Platforms
long
are a
way.
beautiful thing.
Platforms are a beautiful thing and make comfort key. But how can people, if they wanted to reach out with you, especially if they wanted to work with you, Jennifer, because these are just a few of the great, great stories that you've shared here in the limited time that we have together. But if someone wanted to reach out to you and continue the conversation and ask you a little bit more about your journey and how you got there, where's the best place for them to find you?
So I am out on social media. I'm Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can find me there. It is, the handles aren't exactly the same, but they are all a version of my name, which is Jennifer Ternay. And my website is also jenniferternay.com. So those are the easiest ways to get in touch with me. And my email is just jennifer@jenniferternay.com. So
So I will put all of those fun social links in the show notes to make it easy for everyone in the audience. Because like I said, you have so many great stories, and the transformation that you've made to me is outstanding. So I would love everyone to find their happiness and their joy. So thank you for doing the work that you do, for taking the time out to share it with everybody out there today. I appreciate you, Jennifer.
great. Thanks for having me on. It's been fun.
Yep.